Yo, what up, everybody? It's Uncle Dad. That's right. Uncle Dad's back in the house, hanging out with the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only, as you see him right next to me, the man to be, just Mike. What's up, man? Nothing? Just-
That's great. Thank you. Hi. I'm happy to be here.
we were establishing earlier that Mike looks great and I look fat. There you go,
We were establishing that I look like a skeleton that is a tired skeleton, nonetheless.
And I look like Rosie O'Donnell.
You look like Bruce O'Donnell.
But that's what we do on the show. We keep it real. And Rosie O'Donnell, if you ever want to come on the show, let me know.
That was our pitch to Rosie O'Donnell, right?
Exactly. That'll definitely work. I love Tom Cruise too.
Let's line them up.
Let's light him up. All right. Mike, it's for those who don't know right now, we like to keep it real. It's 9:40 in the afternoon. Sorry, 9:40 at night right now. Me and Mike normally don't record this late. But Mike, you've been on the road doing your thing. Am I correct in saying that?
It's 10:40 where I am. You're in California. I'm in Salt Lake City currently.
SLC, baby.
Heading home. So yeah, we usually don't record this late, but I think this is our third night of trying to schedule this while I'm on the road. So thank you for putting up with that, and we're going to do our best, folks, as we always do.
We always do. And remember, this is officially, Mike. We are officially on the 5-year celebration tour, right? So this is still going on. So thank you guys for listening for 5 years, and on our 5th year, we get to talk about a really, really cool movie. This movie, honestly, is Mike. We've seen a lot of movies in this business doing what we do. I got to be honest, this is probably my favorite we've gotten to see so far. And this is Lemonade Blessing, which is directed by Chris Merola. And it's produced by Chris Merola, Raza Razivi, Aruba Sulzana, Samuel Asharov. I try my best. And it stars Jake Ryan, Janine Serrales, Skyalissa Friedman, Miles J. Harvey, and the legend Michael Oliode, and so many other more. And I just got to get this out the way, Mike. This movie officially premiered right now. You and I are talking. It premiered literally 3 hours ago. So it premiered June 5th worldwide at the Tribeca Film Festival.
Wow. Well, you did a hell of a job on the intro, and how fun that it's we're doing the show the day that it's premiering at the film festival. I mean, that's how it works with us, man.
Yeah, I know, dude. I don't think we've done a Tribeca movie yet, huh? Film festival?
I'll have to look at the list, and I'll get back to you.
It's pretty big. I know.
I'll check the list.
Yes. But what's really great, if you guys are in the New York area, when this release, you will have 2 chances to watch it. That'll be June 14th at 6 p.m. at screening VEC 04. That's the 3rd screening, and that's location at the Village East Cinemas. And that's 181 and 189 2nd Avenue. And June 15th at 11:15 a.m. At VEC 02, 4th screening, and that's location Village East Cinema. So that's what the VEC stands for. So screen 2, screen 4, right? And this is at 181, 189 2nd Avenue as well. If you're in New York, we do have some East Coast listeners. When this releases, you'll have that opportunity to go check it out. So please go out there and support this film, because we're going to talk about it, because it's so much fun. And before we talk about it, I just got to say this. Check it out. This movie is about a freshly tossed into a private Catholic school by his devout mother, John, played by Jake Ryan, falls head over heels for a devious classmate ready to push his faith and morals to the brink with a series of increasingly uncomfortable actions, all in the name of love. What we do for love is the theme, I think, so much. And Mike, let's be honest, we do some fun shit for love.
What you won't do for love. You tried everything, but you won't give up. There's a song, right?
What you won't do for love. Sorry. All right, I'll stop.
Yeah, you get my references.
Yeah, I got you. I do. Of course I do. That's why I've been doing this for 5 years. All right. So, sir, you got to watch this movie. Well, we'll get to that. I actually want to watch this movie, and I got to tell you, man, what a great movie. It stars some really great people. Jake Ryan, for those who don't know, I mean, he was in a little movie that came out by a little filmmaker named Wes Anderson. I don't know if you know who that is, Mike.
I knew who that is.
And that movie is called Asteroid City. And that movie is one of. So for those who don't know, I'm not the biggest Wes Anderson fan. I'm really not. But Mike, you like his movies, and
yeah. So we can still put him on the list to get on the show. Wes Anderson, I love your stuff. So like him.
Don't listen. Yeah. But I really feel like Asteroid City was just such a good watch. I mean, what do you think about? I mean, we're not reviewing that movie, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, just because the actor, if you want to see some of his other work, it's a great film. He's great in it. There's lots of great cameos in that movie. Bryan Cranston, I love him in that movie. Is he even in this movie? Yeah, it's a great film. So
Jake Ryan's in this movie, and he plays the lead actor. And really, it is a story about a young man trying to figure themselves out. And so this movie, I don't want to really give anything away, but Mike, it is really a young man's story, right? A young man trying to deal with his living situations, his life, and his youth and what it led to, and all that stuff. And unfortunately, some kids have really shitty parents, and from what I gathered, he kind of had shitty parents. I don't know if you would agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, well, to talk about that, I think it is from the point of view of a young teenage boy. Yeah. It's in the view of him. It involves teenage girls and boys, but yeah, I would say that the opening scene in the movie, as someone who went through a childhood where I heard a lot of fighting from parents, it felt very real, and the way that they portrayed that, the way that the young lead was, you just feel how uncomfortable it is to be a young child in a tumultuous household with parents screaming and fighting at each other. So it really sets it up. I wasn't really sure what I was getting into watching it because I really felt it, a visceral reaction to it. So they did a great job of leading in that.
For sure. And what's crazy is like you have that moment and then you watch the movie, and while there is some moments of uncomfortableness and seriousness, this movie's fucking funny. Like, yeah, it's really funny, man. Like giveaway, by the way, and everybody will know this in the title, but I interview Chris Merola, and he's an awesome guy, and we talk about that. But we'll get to after we kind of set everything up, you'll get to listen to that interview or see that interview. But before we get to that, like, Mike, how funny was it? It was so funny, right? Like, there's so many great jokes in that movie.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't really look at anything. I just started watching it without knowing anything about it, and thought I was getting into something way more serious. And then, the jokes start pouring in.
Yeah,
a little raunchy. I think that's that's okay.
So you talked about off mic. You said kids are a bit gross in this, right?
But I said kids these days.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but the thing is, you say kids these days. This movie takes place probably like in the 2000s.
Kids those days.
But the thing is, I grew up in that era, and honestly, man, kids were fucking gross. You know what I mean? Like, they would just that. But that's the thing, though, right? That humor was relevant then, and I think that's one of those things that it's such a time capsule, and Chris Merola is close to my age, I should say, and he's he really captured that time era very well, in my opinion. Like when he's in the bathroom doing what's the word? Stretching, I guess.
Stroking? Can we say that?
Sure. Yeah. Let's do that. He was stroking his, his
member.
Yes. And he realized, he's watching video games, and his mom comes in and does that moment, and it's so funny and comfortable. But I can relate because I've been there.
Yeah, I think we've all been there at some point. I think the difference, maybe for you, your time. I'm just, everyone knows I'm a generation older than you. None of me and my friends even would admit that we stroked members at all. Like you wouldn't even talk about it. Like it was if you said that you did that, people thought you were weird.
Okay.
So the fact that these kids are joking about it and talking about it and how they do it and what happens was wasn't something that I experienced.
I definitely did.
If I would have said to my friends when when I moved to California that I had been doing that, I would have had no friends, and I pretty much still had no friends, but I would have had even less than no.
You know what's weird is that I told people that, and I had tons of friends. So there you go.
I wish I grew up with you.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, I can tell you how many. Never mind. Never mind. But no, in all seriousness, this movie is so funny, and it's such a great take on what you will do for love and what you will do for the things you want in life. And also, you may think you want those things because it's like what's expected of you, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you need those things. Mike, I know we talk about that a lot off mic as friends, but what do you think about that statement?
That what you think you need, you may not really need.
Yes.
Well, yeah, that happens all the time.
Yeah.
Every time I wake up, I realize I don't need something that I think I need. And then I think about that and then want to go right back to bed.
There you go, easy. Um, Mike, I have to tell you, this film it's also full of great people. Like besides Jake Ryan, you also have Sky Alyssa Freeman. Sky Alyssa Freeman has been in a bunch of other good stuff. She was in a very cool short that I saw called Mute. If you get the opportunity, check that out. Um, Another great actor, of course, is Miles J. Harvey. Miles J. Harvey, what did you know him from before I say anything?
Well, I just want to see what you say first.
Okay. So I know him from, let's see. Nothing, Mike? Okay. I know him from The Babysitter. The Babysitter was a horror movie released on the Netflix, on the Netflix, on Netflix, directed by Mick G. Real fun horror movie. That's what I know him from. Do you know him from anything else?
Probably not.
Okay. Okay. And of course, I think one of the biggest stars in that film is Michael Olayeti. He's an awesome actor, but so slept on. In my opinion, he needs to be in more films. If you ever watched on Netflix, he was the West African voice in Maniac. He was in Black Lady Goddess. He was in This Is Paradise. Both Eyes Open. I mean, this guy, he acts incredibly well, and I hope he has nothing but success in his future. Um, yeah, and of course, we got to talk about the main guy, the man who made it happen, Chris Merola. Chris Merola recently just graduated and got his MFA, and his first movie is with a fucking, a Wes Anderson movie star, right? Like, and it's like, how awesome is that? How many people get that opportunity? And to have your movie premiere at Tribeca Film Festival. Come on.
I mean, he's off to a great start.
Yeah. Like, but we always talk about it a lot, right, Mike? It's like when you're passionate about it, you'll make it happen, dude.
Yeah. Well, that's why we're still trying.
And that's why we're still doing the 5-year tour. Mike, yeah, so I have an interview with him, and that's going to come up at the end. I'm just curious, you couldn't make it, which is totally cool. Since you've seen the film now, what is one question you wish you could have asked him?
Oh, well, I don't know. Is he? I would have asked him if. You know what? I probably would have went with because let me be honest here. I've been on the road, and so I've been working events, selling my wonderful Barbridge hats, and trying to watch the film has been yet a challenge. So I logged in and watched a big chunk of the first part of the film, and then when I went to watch the remaining part of the film, the link had expired and the passcode was no longer valid. So I didn't get to finish the film. A full disclaimer here. I'm really sorry. But I would have said, what I would have asked him was because the most impactful part that I saw, was the beginning. And is if he grew up in a household, if that's where he got his inspiration for such, crazy fighting parents, and then later on, I don't think I'm giving too much away when we say that the parents split up and, if that was inspired by his true events at all. Because that's always fascinating to me, especially when people go on to be really creative because I think a lot of times having that kind of upbringing can bring out a really creative side, you know,
Yeah.
because you tend to go different places within yourself when that kind of stuff is happening.
That's a great question. I didn't
Oh,
ask that, so clearly you would have been there. You would have. But
yeah,
I talked a lot about. You know what? I'm not going to say anything. They just got to listen.
yeah.
So they got to listen and find out. But yeah, everybody go check this out. I don't have a date when the movie is coming, like to everywhere. All I do know is that it will be by the time you listen to this, and if you're in New York, you can go check it out. Mike, before we wrap up here, any last words or anything I need to talk about?
Well, I do think they have there's an Instagram page for the film.
Oh, you're right.
I
I didn't
was
say
looking at,
that. I
yeah,
didn't say that because Chris Merola might say that. I don't know.
maybe he might. So I guess what I would say now is if we want to know when it's going to come to other streaming services, maybe it'll be on their Instagram page
That or their website.
or their website.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
That,
good if their website works. If their website works, which I'm sure it does, then I'm sure that's a great place to find information. So
and,
go to their website.
and speaking of websites working, guess what? Our website works again.
Oh, I swear I wasn't trying to indicate anything other than their website for the lemonade.
Oh, okay. But that's right, Mike. Our website's back up. I didn't realize it wasn't working, so now it's working. So guess what, everybody? Go to UncleDadTalks.com. Now, Mike, we do YouTube, as you guys all know, because that's how you're watching this. But if you're watching us on the YouTubes, if you just go to UncleDadTalks.com, everything will load up there, from past episodes to the current YouTube videos and other bonus content that might be released. So yes, Mike, good innuendo. Thank you. UncleDadTalks.com. And of course, we talked about it in our last episode for 5 years. Please sure to get ready for our 5-year anniversary party, which will be October 25th. And we're still working on all those little details, but keep that in mind. And follow me and Mike on Instagram at UncleDadTalks and Mike Hampton Art. Mike, anything else?
Absolutely not. That is all, folks.
That is all indeed. And guess what, everybody? Just hang on. Because right now, when I end and I go like that, guess what? The next interview is coming in with Chris Merola. As always, we're not uncles, we're not dads. We're just someone you can talk to. And we'll see you all next week. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Uncle Dad here, usually hanging out with Just Mike, but Just Mike is not with me, but that's okay. I'm with somebody even more handsome, I would say.
Oh,
yes. He's going to be jealous about that one. Let's give it up for Chris. Is your last name Merola or Morella?
Merola, yeah. I'm an Italian boy. You got it.
An Italian. Okay, I like it. What's your favorite Italian thing to eat right when you get home?
Oh my God, dude. Oh, that's actually really hard. I mean, for dessert, like I do love a cannoli or a St. Joseph's Day pastry.
Sure.
God, my mom's red sauce is so freaking good. I don't get it that often though, but man, she'll get like the orecchiette and like she'll get the San Marzano tomatoes and the chopped meat. She'll simmer it for a while, the garlic, the Parmesan.
Okay.
Oh man, I haven't eaten today. I'm intermittent fasting. I'm about to pass out. I'm so hungry, dude.
So I've met quite a few Italians in my life, and I have friends who are. Why is it that everybody's mom has the best red sauce? Tell me.
I don't know what it is. They're all the best. They're all equally the best. Everyone's first, I guess. I couldn't tell you.
Everybody's the best, but your mom's is actually the best. You know what I'm
saying? Truly. That's what it is, man. That's what it is.
I love that, man. So Chris, if you could just do me a favor, can you just tell our audience who you are and what you got coming out real fast?
Absolutely, man. Yeah, so I'm a writer-director. My first feature, Lemonade Blessing, is premiering at Tribeca in a couple days on Thursday at 7:15 p.m. at the SVA Theater. I'm absolutely stoked. It's a coming-of-age Catholic high school film about this child of divorce whose devout mom sends him to Catholic high school. He falls for a rebellious atheist girl who has him commit sacrilegious dares in order to further their relationship. So chaos ensues. What would you do for love? Find out. Lemonade Blessing. Yeah.
I think it's always a great question. And I love that the film is so funny, by the way. It is funny. And it for me personally, it hit me in such a wave of an interesting type of nostalgia. Like, I don't want to give anything away, but there are certain moments where I kind of felt like I really related to it growing up myself. And
one of the big things I wanted to talk about just right off the bat is that I felt the a high influence of gaming culture in it. So I'm curious,
Yes.
with video games. So video games are very important to me and very important to who I am as a human. I feel like that's the same as you, right? So just what draws you to video games, and how did you like the idea of tying it to your film?
Oh, thank you so much for talking about video games, dude. I just yeah, listen, man. I mean, I was an imaginative kid growing up. You know, my dad wanted me to play sports. He put me in the soccer field. I was sitting down blowing dandelions. I was not a sport ball guy. There's a photo of me as a kid where I literally look like dead, and I'm just holding like a Gatorade and like a cereal bar, just looking like, get me the fuck out of here. I cannot do it. I
Whoa.
just was not a normal kid, dude.
Yeah.
But I loved video games. They were a world I could escape into, and even more importantly, they were a challenge I could like rise to the occasion with. And
Sure.
I loved playing beautiful, challenging games. And it was always my goal that if I was going to make a movie that was personal to my experience, I should have, you know, games in the film that are true to life, you know. Wind
Yeah.
Waker was my favorite game growing up, and it means so much to me that, you know, it's in the film as well as New Super Mario Brothers Wii, Call of
Yeah.
Duty Black Ops, you know, got the Mass Effect reference in there.
Yeah.
And you know, as far as how it works in the film thematically, I mean, you know, this is a character who tries to escape from the pain in his life. It's an early childhood defense mechanism where, you know, things aren't going so well with mom and dad, but that's okay. I can go and sail on the great sea, and
Hmm.
I can sink into this music, and I can be a warrior, and I can be okay. I can have power over something when I'm playing Legend of Zelda, and I think it's a real coping mechanism. It's also just a way I think a lot of young men try to relate to one another. You know, as you can see in the film, young men are not great at talking about their feelings. You know, I've heard that saying that, like, you know, women stand face to face and men stand shoulder to shoulder. And, you know, I think obviously there are a lot more differences within the genders than between the genders, but, you know, we are in a certain patriarchal society where, you know, men are trained not to talk about their feelings. And so they don't really know how to do that when, unless they're looking at like a third object and they're not looking at each other and they're like talking about, you know, dates and how that's going. And so for me, it was very much about like escape. How do people deal with that pain? And then also, you know, the fact that I guess spoiler alert, he's masturbating like Liara to Sony. There's a bit of a foreshadowing to the fact that women are so othered in the film. Women are literally like aliens to young men, and that's the way that the school administration treats them. So it literally, he's quite literally jerking off to an alien. So it's kind of foreshadowing to the way that he himself at this point in the beginning of the film is relating to women. And then, you know, by the end of the film, he's maybe learned a little bit more effectively how to relate to women as equals, as fellow human beings.
Totally. And what I love too about the Mass Effect reference is that one, I think Mass Effect is one of those interesting, even though I know it's widely popular, but it's still a fairly deep cut, I would say, these days. And I was kind of excited to see that. So two reasons. One, I always love when we on our show when we can kind of like, you know, do the 6 degrees of separation kind of thing. And so like we've had Courtney Taylor on the show who voiced Jack. Yeah.
Dude,
And so
that's
it was kind of exciting. You know, it was like, all right, cool. You're a part of that lexicon. I love that. And so my question for you about Mass Effect, if I may,
yeah.
I assume you beat them all, correct?
I beat 2 and 3 because I was a PlayStation 3 gamer and they had not released
Yes.
Mass
Okay.
Effect 1 on the PlayStation 3 when I was a kid. So I had to do that opening sequence in Mass Effect 2 wherein you would
Mhm.
select your decisions for the first game over the first 30 minutes. But I have beaten 2 and 3, yes.
Okay. So in the end, what was your thoughts on the original ending of the third game?
Dude, yeah, I mean, I think Ego Raptor did it great in his cartoon at the time. What it was like, pick your favorite, you know, colored juice at the party. It was very, very inconsequential. And, you know, I feel like video game developers have internalized the lessons from that because I play games now like Disco Elysium where the endings are so absolutely customized. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Oh, dude, we can go down a rabbit hole with the video game. I just beat Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. Have you played that?
I've heard that. I had not played it.
Dude, oh
It's
my
pretty
god.
solid.
It's one of
Okay.
these great like mindfuck puzzle games in the realm of Tunic and like The Witness, where they're games that like have puzzles within puzzles that just make you
Yeah.
feel so freaking smart, dude. I would highly recommend it.
Oh man, okay. Yeah, I feel like you and I could talk all day about games, but I don't want to take away from your movie, of course, but and you and your story.
Well,
But
it's
also
fine, dude. I love video games. Yeah.
but also it's a part of who you are, right? Like I think that's the thing that me and Mike always try to talk about. Like that's who you are is what leads to what you make, right?
Yes,
And so
100%, dude.
and
Yes.
you were on that path at some point and it took you here and now you're here. So what I wanted to ask you about that is where does the Lemonade Blessings like kind of origin start, and how do we get to where we are now?
You know, I kind of just had this image that popped in my head in 2019 of just a Eucharist wafer that had floated down into the top of a toilet bowl, and there's a boy with his pant legs bunched around him, looking down at it, looking kind of guilty, looking kind of anxious. And so I filed that away, and I went to USC for my master's in film, and you know, it was imperative that I wrote a bunch of features by the time I graduated. So Lemonade was the first one I sat down and I wrote. I kind of wrote down by hand just memories that I had from my adolescence, themes that were meaningful to me. And I noticed a sort of strong undercurrent of like guilt over being a, coming of age and being sexual, and how that created friction between my image as a Catholic, and then also how that affected my relationship with my mom and the faith that she raised me with. And so I merged these two things together. I realized that I could externalize these internal feelings of guilt by having a sort of measurable physical goal for our protagonist to do, so that as the relationship is progressing sexually, the sacrilegious dares are escalating visually. And so I always wanted the film to be cinematic. I didn't want it to just be like a talking fest, even though like I do love writing great dialogue scenes. I wanted it to be visual. I wanted it to be cinematic. So the sacrilegious dares gave me a way of having purely visual scenes that could externalize his guilt. And once I had that going, and I paired those two things together, I felt like I was pretty off to the races.
Yeah, I love that. And you know, I wanted to throw this compliment here. At least I think it's a compliment. The dialogue to me, I think a lot of Kevin Smith and Dogma.
Oh,
And this,
dude, Kevin Smith is great, man. Hell,
yeah.
I love that comp.
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, you know, and I feel like Dog is one of those movies that spoke to a generation too, right? And it spoke to a specific generation about dealing with what religion means to us and all that, you know. And I feel like your film, I know obviously isn't in the same ballpark in the sense of its fantasy element of things, but you know, I think in the atop the subject of religion and how we deal with, especially at a young age and in that time era, you know, I think it's going to hit people in a very unique way. And I don't know, man, I enjoyed it so thoroughly that it really just kept me thinking about Dogma, and I mean that in a great way. Where I don't know, man, this could be the next generation's like Dogma. You know what I mean? And I think you have such a great film on your hands. I think it's just it's so thoroughly enjoyable. And you know, and again, I'm sure you heard that throughout all your entire press junket so far. But it's just it's so thoroughly enjoyable in the sense that it feels like I'm learning, I'm developing, and I'm understanding, but while doing zero work, if that makes any sense. And I think it's hard to
Wow.
do in a film.
Oh
And
my
I
God, dude.
truly
Thank you
appreciate it.
so much, dude. That is such high praise. I really, yeah, dude, I can't believe, dude, people are saying such nice stuff. I toiled away this thing, like I've seen it 250 times. So there's so many days where I watch it, I'm like, this fucking movie, I'm so goddamn tired.
Sure, right.
And then people are saying all this nice shit. I'm like, oh, hell yeah, dude. Awesome. Like, let's go, dude. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So, dude,
Yeah.
that's so cool that you feel that way. It's always my goal to find ways to be as elegant as possible with exposition, so that
Yeah.
every scene can do multiple things, you know, where it's like you have the scene that introduces like John and Lilith and Mrs. Groff and like the, Connor O'Connor and the sleeping kid Gary, you know, like it's always my goal where it's like, if a scene's doing one thing, can I get it to do two things? Can I get it to do three things? Can I get it to do four things?
Yeah.
How much can I cut? So I feel so happy that you feel like, yeah, the exposition was kind of bunched in such a way that it was entertaining, but like you were learning things about the characters as going on. That is absolutely the goal. So I'm so stoked you feel that way, man.
Yeah. And you know, I wanted to ask you, talking about video games and stuff. The name choice of Lilith, is that a reference to The Witcher or no?
It is not. You know what it is? It's a reference to in the Bible, dude. Like Adam
I figured. Yeah. Okay.
apocryphally has a first wife that rejected the name, and so like she's kind of reacting directly against her upbringing. She doesn't realize that she could choose something different. Everything that she is a perfect reaction against it. So I thought she would have to give herself a name that is rebellious, yes, but actually still Christian. You know what I mean? So like I figured that would be no, but it's not. It's not a Witcher reference. That would have been. I'd love to take credit, but I can't, man.
Well, next time somebody asks you that, you just go, sure. But that's what you wanted to be. Yeah.
Yeah. I had one interview where some guy like said something that like I totally did not intend for. Like he said, like, oh, there's a globe in the background of a scene, and like, Christ is the light of the world. So like you meant to do that, right? And I literally just like panicked. I was like, I'm so glad you're reading into the film like this, dude. This is exactly what we wanted. And I just like moved on. I'm like sweating. I'm like, dude, what if that gets back to me that I fucking lied, dude? I didn't even lie. I just said a mistruth, dude. I don't even know, man. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because in talking about film, what I like about your movie is that it feels like a filmmaker's movie, and I think film
Oh,
is something people who love movies, they love movies, right?
yeah.
And when you talk to people, other people who love film, like how you mentioned about the Globe, it's like I love that because this is what that movie's about, whether or not you intended it. It has that feeling of like, again, going back to Dogma, where you watch it and there are moments where you're like, oh, wow, maybe he was trying to do that or that. And you realize, oh, like there's a little thing back there. Like there's this, you know what I mean? And even if it's not intentional, I think Kevin Smith said himself, like, make it intentional.
That's
And,
fair. That
yeah.
is very nice. There was one thing that we did intentionally when he's about to do something with the Eucharist wafer and he's walking around his backyard in a circle. If you notice in the background on the circle, there's a Mary statue behind him. And then, of course, when he shutters the blinds, there's also a Mary statue. Of course, the fact that religion and his mom, Mary, are both linked together, that was supposed to be like the object is like Mary's there. Mary's on his mind. Mary's watching him.
Yeah.
That at least was intentional. I will take credit for that. Yay.
Okay, as you should, as you should.
And then also Zelda, Legend of Zelda, he loves Link so much he wears green, like the green tunic to his first date. That was another one that was kind of intentional. Yeah.
Okay. See, I was actually wondering that too. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, but maybe okay. So I like it. Awesome.
Hell yeah.
We do got to wrap up soon, but I always like to end my interviews with well, actually, before we get to that, where can our audience learn more about you, learn more about the film, and all that good stuff?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So our Instagram is at Lemonade Blessing, and my Instagram is at Crispy Merola. That's CRISPYMEROLA. Please follow me. I am so chronically online. I will reply to everything.
Awesome.
I truly will. Yeah.
I love that. And my last question to you is, I always like to ask, especially when we have unique interest, and obviously gaming is your unique interest. So, what is your top 3 games that you love to hate?
Oh, this is really interesting. Okay, give me a second to think about
Yes.
this that I love to hate. Okay.
Because we all have that, we all have that game. Like one, my top one for me, and I know this is such a throwback, but I really love it, but I hate it. It's Dark Souls.
I love to love Dark Souls. I am such a FromSoft head. Just so you know, when I first met Jake to talk about the role, he was talking to me. We talked about Dark Souls 3 for like 30 minutes because he had been presenting it. Jake was just over the other day. We were playing like Super Smash Bros. Like he lives like 20 minutes away from me, so we hang, dude.
Nice. I love it. I love it.
So when you say love to hate, I want to be clear. Is it a game that I am ambivalent about? Like there are moments where I love it and moments where I hate it? Or is it a game?
Yes.
Okay. So one, I'm going to give a cheat answer. I love playing chess. I play bullet chess online.
Okay.
One of the games where you have to finish the game within a minute or else your opponent wins. So I love it because it's so fun and it makes me think so fast, but I hate it because I think it makes me really ADHD. I also love it because people talk so much smack on chess.com. One time I beat a guy and he said this guy would like to chat. So I clicked check mark. He sent me a message. This is what the guy said. He said, "My dog fuck your mom and then you were born." I was like, bro, that was crazy. Okay, another one I kind of love to hate is Fortnite. I played that with my boys when it first dropped, and me and my dad would play it. Actually, he was a bush camper. He wouldn't learn how to fight. He would hide in the bushes, wait for people to fight, and then like a vulture go pick up their scraps. And I was like, "Dad, you got to learn to kill. You got to learn to kill." So I used to hate I like Fortnite because I would be able to socialize with people while I played it.
Sure.
But I hated it because it's so much based on randomness. Like, the weapons that you get when you drop, equal players, the one who gets the better weapon upon the drop will just like shoot the other person and win.
Yeah.
So I really don't like that element of certain games when there's too much randomness involved in the game design. So that's kind of things that I really frustrate me about that. And then what's one more that I love to hate? UFO 50 is a game that came out last year that I kind of adore.
Whoa, UFO 50.
Do you know about this game?
Again, it's one of those games I've heard of but haven't played.
Yeah. So Spelunky dev and a few other indie devs, they made like a 50 pack of 8-bit retro games in the style of, back in the 80s, you'd get like a video game cartridge and it would have. So dude, like most of the games on there are absolutely outstanding. And even the ones that are outstanding, some of them are so hard, dude, that they literally gave me like I was beat red as a tomato, dude. Star Waspire on there is one of the hardest things I've ever played. There's one game called Combat Ants in there that like I go on the subreddit just to relate to people about how fucking hard it is. But maybe UFO 50 isn't perfect because I just actually adore that game, but I'm sorry, I feel like I cheated with the answer. But those are my 3 games, I would say.
I love it. I love it.
And yeah.
I love it. And I have to tell you, talking to you about that is another reason why your film does so well, is because you're very relatable to, I think, your characters. So like when I hear you talking on stuff like that, you can feel that you took a lot of yourself into your characters. And when you write, you write the best things. And so
Dude,
I
thank
just,
you. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
I just
put
wanted to
so
say,
much into it,
yeah,
dude. Yeah.
yeah. I just want to say it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Truly, please, everybody listening, go check out this movie when it comes out. Seriously, you are in for a treat. Go follow him. Go follow him on Lemonade Blessing, and we'll be right back after this break. Everybody, thank you.
Thank you so